I'm Marv Waschke. Today, in this COVID-19 pandemic, everyone has entered my world of working from home, online meetings, and spending most of both night and day in front of a screen. In my career as a software architect, I worked regularly with online teams spread over every continent except Antarctica. The last decade of my career, I worked from our old farmhouse on Waschke Road most of the time. Since I retired, I spend as much time writing in my home office as I did when I was gainfully employed. I have some advice on how to be comfortable and even enjoy the online screen life. Mind you, I'm not a physician, an ophthalmologist, or a physical therapist. I'm just an old opinionated coder. But you might find some of my suggestions useful. First, let me say that everyone is different. There's the saying, your mileage may vary. Well, I have found that my mileage varies a lot. Nobody is like me. For me, when it comes to well-being, it works better to experiment rather than to find some expert's rule and stick with it. So, this is my first suggestion. Try different strategies. Pay close attention to how you feel, both physically and mentally. Go with whatever makes you feel the best. But try reasonable strategies as they occur to you. Also, be aware that change is constant. What works today may not work tomorrow. And pay attention to yourself. A tiny pain in your little finger can turn into a horrible thing in just a short time if you neglect that pain and don't do something to avoid it. For me, the most important consideration is my eyes. I think there's a good reason for this. We live in a three-dimensional world, and our eyes are designed, or evolved, if you will, to move constantly, continually refocusing on objects near and far, different colors, different textures, different intensities of light. But screens are flat. Most of the time, they're at exactly the same distance from our eyes. The intensity and the color of the screen remains relatively constant. And our bodies are simply not designed for this fixed environment. We've got to compensate. I found that if I take care of my eyes when I'm online, the rest of my body tends to fall into place. It just takes care of itself. That doesn't mean that I intentionally ignore the recommendations of the ergonomic experts. But I find that if I take care of my eyes properly, the rest of the ergonomic rules just fall into place. And I can quickly adapt to changing circumstances, like a new piece of furniture or moving to a different room to work. And I don't have to look at charts or get out a tape measure or any of that stuff. I can just take care of my eyes and everything else seems to work. So, now for some bullet points. Frequently look away from the screen and into the distance. It helps to be near a window with some action outside. There are apps available that remind you to look away every few minutes, but I personally can't stand them. Those timers just drive me bats. The antics of the crows and seagulls and other birds that flap around outside my window are a better reminder for me to look up and pay attention to the world. And it helps that I have a lot of interesting stuff, at least interesting to me, in my office. You can see behind me, there's my great-grandfather's wooden planes and my grandfather's crosscut saw and just different stuff. The trophy that my father got for having the best milk in the county. These are things that, just kind of I like to see, make me feel good. And I think that helps. On the other hand, according to my wife, this is mostly clutter old junk that I like to have around me. So, Now, next point. I avoid using a laptop as a laptop for any length of time. What I do is I put my laptop on a stand, which can be just a stack of books, to get that screen up so you're looking straight at it. You're not hunched over. And then I use an external keyboard so that my hands are down and I'm in a natural, relaxed position. And you have to look for that relaxed position for yourself. That's really important. If you go by the rules may not fit you. Position the screen so you're looking at the upper third of the display with your neck in an unstrained, relaxed position. And make sure it's at the proper distance. That's usually about 2 feet for most people. But the way to do it is you just go back and forth and find what's most comfortable. I have 3 pairs of glasses. The ones I'm wearing right now are bifocals because I'm an old guy and my eyes don't focus that well anymore, so I have to have these bifocals. I'm a little bit vain, so I have the lineless variety. And this is actually not good for working on screens. The reason is that the area of the lens that focuses exactly on the distance that you're looking at is very small. So that means you have to move your head all over the place and put it in strained positions. Not good. So I have fixed focus. I have reading glasses for up close. I have computer glasses for about that 2 foot distance. And that really helps keep me relaxed as I'm working. Invest in the highest resolution monitor that you can afford. High res means that detail is depicted accurately on the screen. And your eyes seem to like that, or at least mine do. It's much more important to have a high resolution screen than it is to have a large monitor for me. I use a 22-inch display, which is, a moderately large monitor. But I can tell you that at the end of a long day, if you have a high-res screen, or at least for me, I feel a lot better than if I have a large screen. Large screens are nice, but high-res is the secret for keeping your eyes healthy. Or happy, I should say. Position lighting carefully. I find having my desk perpendicular to a north-facing window with the window to my left is perfect. If I were left-handed, I'd want the window on the right. That way, my dominant hand doesn't cast a shadow when I'm doing work with paper and pencil or pen. I use screens a lot, but I still like paper for drafting stories and planning things. Just seems to work better for me. So I pay attention to where the light is coming from when I'm writing also. Now, a window in front of you is not bad, but it does tend to put the screen itself in a shadow. And the contrast between that screen in a shadow and the bright light around it often is kind of uncomfortable. So a window in front of you is okay, but I don't think it's the best. A window behind you, no. What happens then is the light coming in through the window puts a glare on the screen, and you have to hold yourself funny to get out of the glare so you can actually see. And anytime you find yourself holding yourself in an odd position, that's not what you want to do. Now, avoid too much blue in your screens. The people who worry a lot about screens will tell you that blue and screen colors will keep you up at night. I don't find that true for myself, but it means that modern operating systems like Windows 10 have what they call a night light setting. And you can use that to adjust the amount of blue in your screen. And you can set it up so that your night light is on 24 hours a day, which is what I do. And I think Apple has the same kind of a feature, so it's not just Windows that you need for this. I will give you a hint though. Don't shop online with the night light on. You'll make bad choices on colors, believe me. Give yourself opportunities to move. I actually use 3 different computers in my office, and then I switch between them. I have one at a normal desk that's behind me here. I have one that is set up to be a standing desk so that I can stand up as I am right now, and type and look at the screen. And then I also have an easy chair, a recliner with a large lap board. And I like to take my Surface tablet and work on it sitting in that easy chair for a while. Just to relax, give myself a little variation, take a little vacation from the hard stuff. It's just a nice thing to do. And by changing these things all the time, you stay relaxed, and I think it also helps with your mental edge. To keep all of these computers in sync, I use Dropbox. That way I don't have to mess with thumb drives or changing drives around or anything like that. And that's very convenient. Microsoft OneDrive will do the same thing for you. But I started using Dropbox several years ago when OneDrive still had a few bugs in it that I didn't like. But I think it's fine now. So, whatever works for you. Next. It's worthwhile to have a good adjustable office chair. Now, you can spend thousands of dollars on a luxury ergonomic chair. The Aeron and Steelcase has one that's just fantastic. But the fact is, my favorite chair came from IKEA and didn't cost very much. I just was in IKEA one afternoon and I sat down, and lo and behold, I said, this is the chair for me. So I got a good chair and it wasn't very expensive. And you can do the same thing. Just try them and find one that you like. And then, take it home. Pay for it. So the other thing is, I prefer chairs without arms. Part of the reason is I like to put my belly up to the desk, and the arms interfere. But also, if your chair has arms, you tend to rest your elbows and your upper arms or your lower arms on those chair arms. And that kind of locks you into a position with your hands. And that can be straining. So I just prefer to take them off. And then one final note. I have to say that the best keyboards were manufactured by IBM in the 1980s. And I still use a Model F PC-AT keyboard, over 30 years old. It's never let me down, and it is the most comfortable thing for my fingers on the planet. Okay, this covers the important stuff. I still put long days in at my home office, but the fact is I have fewer aches and pains now than I had 10 years ago. And it just shows that if you pay attention to yourself, you can avoid a lot of the problems that many, many people have from working at home and working on screens all the time. But my most important point to you is that your mileage will vary. Figure it out for yourself, not for somebody else, not what somebody else figured out for somebody else, yet another person, but figure it out for yourself. Find what feels good and then pay attention and keep it feeling good. Bye.